All right, so looking at this first assignment or first problem in 3.1, says 3 different countries have currencies A, B, and C. Ratio of currency A, ratio of currency B, and ratio of currency C is 3 to 264 to 8. Use the given information to answer parts A through C. All right, so all right, here we go. Yeah, we can just work with the values that we have right there. All right, so this chart right here is what we have. I think you have different numbers, but it's still the same scenario, wherein you have the first row filled out, then you have 2 spots missing from your second row, 2 spots missing from your third row, and 2 spots missing from that fourth row. So in order to finish calculating the 2 spots in that second row, you would use row A as your standard. So you have a 4-to-1 ratio between the first row and the second row. And then, and I just call that first box that's missing X. You would do 396 over the X. All right. Once you set up your proportion, you can cross multiply. So that'd be 4X equal to 396. Divide by 4. X is equal to 99. All right. To find the missing spot in C, you would do the same thing. Still use column A as your standard for that proportion. That's 4 over 1. Then that would be equal to 9 over Y. Once again, once you have your proportion set up, you can cross multiply. That's 4Y equal to 9 times 1, which is just 9. Divide by 4, and then Y would be equal to 9/4. So before we go to the next row, questions on how we found the first 2 missing pieces. And you would plug in 9 over 4 as a fraction. That is what my math lab is looking for. All right.
I have a question.
Yep.
Okay, so I see where you cross multiplied.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. Can you pull the screen back down to the original? Okay, so 4 over 1 equal to 396 over X.
Mm-hmm.
So if you cross multiply, where do you get it? The divisor of 4?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so when you cross multiply, this is where you are. 4 times X and then 1 times 396.
Mm-hmm.
And so your goal now is to solve for X.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to solve for X, you have to divide both sides by 4.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 over 4 will cancel. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So now if we want to go to that third row, we'll use the same thought process, but this time we will use the 396 and 1. So we're using column B. And so I called that first spot A, second spot B, and we would follow the same process, setting it up 396 over 1 equal to 4 over A. Once again, this is coming from column B. This is column A. And we will cross multiply. That'll give me 396A equal to 4, because that's 1 times 4 on the right. Now you want to get A by itself, so you divide both sides by that 396. 396 will cancel, leaving you with just A on the left. And then 4 over 396 will reduce to 1 over 99. All right. Same type of situation for the next one. And remember, that was a 9. And so I use B to represent that variable. And we follow the same process. 396 times B, 9 times 1. Then we'll divide both sides by 396. And 9 over 396 reduces down to 144. All right, questions? All right, then to find that last row, the last piece is missing in that last row. This time we are looking at 9 and 1 as our standard ratio. And then we'll use that ratio to find the other two. Decide to call them M and N. So to find M, I'm looking at 4 over M. And then for B, it would be 396 over N. Setting those equal to that 9 over 1. And following that same procedure of cross multiplication once you set up your proportion. So that'll be 9 times M, 1 times 4 on the right, and then divide by 9. You get 4/9. Here, when we divide by 9, we get 396 over 9, which is 44. All right, questions? All right. Make sure what this next problem is. Okay. Yeah. All right, so let's look at our US converting measurements. So converting US measurements. So just starting off with the first few of them. They're going to be the same. So if you don't have your book, or if you don't have access to them, you don't have access to your notes, 12 inches is always going to be equal to 1 foot. You can ask Siri, Alexa, Google, ask anybody. They all are going to be the same. 36 inches equal to 1 yard, 3 feet is equal to 1 yard, 5,280 feet equal to 1 mile. So all of those conversion factors are just standard. They don't change. So if I wanted to convert feet, and let me erase this stuff so we can walk through it. If I want to convert 5 feet to inches, first thing I need to do is find the conversion factor that involves inches to feet. And of course, that's the first one. 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. Now I can use that conversion factor one of two ways. Either I can write 12 inches over 1 foot or 1 foot over 12 inches. So what dictates how I use it is what I'm starting off with. So if I have 5 feet, I'll write that 5 feet over 1, setting it up as a fraction. And if I have feet up top, or in other words, I'm starting off with feet, then I need feet down bottom. Goes back to your fractional work, wherein feet over feet or a number over a number will cancel out. So if that's the case, that means I need to do 12 inches over 1 foot. And like I said, that is so that the feet over feet can cancel. And that leaves me with inches, which is what I wanted to be left in. Now multiply across. 5 times 12 is 60. And so it would be 60 inches. All right. Questions? All right, so let's look at inches of feet. Start off with 20 inches. This time we will use the same conversion factor, but this time the inches need to be down bottom. So there's 1 foot over 12 inches. So that inches over inches will cancel. Now I can multiply across. So that's 20 over 12. I can reduce that fraction. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 3 is that 12. 4s will cancel. And that leaves me with 5 over 3. All right. Questions. All right. So if I had 15,840 feet and I want to convert it to miles, then I need to use the conversion factor. 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. My feet get to cancel. And I have 15,840 over 5,280. Divide those and we're left with 3 miles. Questions? Any questions? All right. Before you copy that, let me share. Oops. All right. So next one says use the given ratios to find the conversion factor. Convert gallons to quarts. What would you multiply by? So we have 4 gallons to 16 quarts. Let me share this back. Okay, so we want to go to gallons to quarts. They did different numbers in my last class. So it doesn't matter what your gallons are. They ask us what do we want to multiply by. So they said that we have 4 gallons to 16 quarts, and you want to go from gallons to quarts. So 4 gallons to 16 quarts. And so it doesn't matter what gallons, but if I want to start off with gallons, that means on bottom, if I want to use this conversion factor, gallons will be down bottom and 16 quarts will be on top. Because remember, what we want is for our gallons to cancel out. So what I would multiply by is 16 over 4, which is 4. Questions on what they're asking you right there. So they gave you a conversion factor of 4 gallons to 16 quarts, and you want to go from gallons to quarts. So I remember, if you're starting off in gallons, that means your gallons have to be down bottom when you use your conversion factor. So that means you would use 16 quarts over 4 gallons. And if you were to reduce the 16 over 4, that is 4, because 16 divided by 4 is 4. And so that would be the number you would be multiplying by. And, oh, that's a question. What? So, all right, Miss Will, let me go back to I think I'm sharing my notes there. All right, so were you okay with using conversion factors before this?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the same thought process. So in other words, let's say if I had 5 gallons here and I wanted to go change it to quarts, all right? And they gave me this conversion factor. 4 gallons is equal to 16 quarts. If I did 5 gallons over 1, the way I would set it up using this conversion factor, it would be 16 quarts over 4 gallons. All right, so you cool with that, right?
Yes.
All right, so now when you go back to, now before we do anything else, when you go to the homework, it says convert using that ratio of 4 gallons to 16 quarts. In order to do that, you will multiply by, right? So basically we will multiply by, let me go back to my notes, 16 over 4, right?
Okay, so you're using that because that is the
Conversion factor?
that's what they're giving you
Yeah,
basically.
right. That's
Okay.
because that's what they gave us, right? So let me go back to the homework. Right, it's right there, 4 gallons, colon, 16 quarts. So like in my other class, they gave me eight gallons, 2 gallons to 8 quarts, so they may change those numbers. So whatever they give you right there is the conversion factor that you need to use.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
All right. So let's see. Okay, here, let's look at this one. Well, before I go here, questions on anything up to this point? Anybody before we go to the next one? Good, good, good. All right. So let's go back to homework. So here, decide whether the following statement makes sense or does not make sense. It says I drove at a speed of 35 miles for the entire trip. Anybody care to let us know whether it makes sense or not? Anybody? Nobody? Anybody ever drove at a speed of 35 miles?
Yeah, miles not a unit of speed.
Yep, there it is. So it does not make sense because where it go? That D is D. Does not make sense because miles is not a unit of speed. Now, if they said 35 miles per hour, then you would have been good to go. Or if it says I drove 35 miles for the entire trip, you know, in other words, you drove the distance. So just make sure we pay attention to the keywords. Good job on that. Questions before we move off it. Okay. See what's next. So that's what we just finished doing, converting feet to inches. Here they give us another set of conversion factors. We're looking at pounds to kilograms. So down bottom, notice they gave us 1 pound is equal to 0.4536 kilograms. 1 kilogram is equal to 2.205 pounds. You can use either one. If I were to divide 0.4536 into both sides, I will get that 2.205. So it's the same conversion factor, just that one is set up for pounds, the other one is set up for kilograms. But it doesn't matter which one you decide to use. Either way, you'll get the correct answer. In one, you may be dividing, where in the other one, you may be multiplying, or you will be multiplying. So I went ahead, this one had 9 pounds, so I'll just leave it like that. So if I want to go 9 pounds to kilograms, pounds is US and metric, which is what we'll talk about in a few. It's kilograms. So I set up my fraction and then multiply by the conversion factor. Conversion factor of 1 pound equal to 0.4536 kilograms. Pounds in top, so that means pounds need to be down bottom. My pounds cancel. Then I do 9 times 0.4536, and that will be 4.0824. And they tell you to round to 2 decimal places, so it would have been 4.08. All right. Questions. All right. So next thing they talk about is Fahrenheit to Celsius and Celsius to Fahrenheit. And I'll erase this and walk through it. All right, so the formulas they give for Celsius, well, Fahrenheit to Celsius is C equal to F minus 32 over 1.8. And Celsius to Fahrenheit, F is equal to 1.8 C plus 32. So if you have your Fahrenheit, plug it in, you can convert it to Celsius. Or if you have your Celsius, plug it in, you convert it to Fahrenheit. All right. So the first one, 84 degrees, I say 84, 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So I have my F, and I'm going to plug it in. All right, so 85 minus 32, 53 over 1.8. Eighty-five minus 32, 1.8. And that's 29.4 degrees, and that would be Celsius. All right. Next one, we have 70 degrees Celsius, and we're going to plug it in into the formula. And I guess I didn't necessarily have to erase that. Okay, so plug in 74C, that's 1.8 times 70 plus 32. 1.8 times that 70 is 126. And add 32 to it would be 158 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, questions? All right, so this one it's got to be tricky. Was kind of tricky at first because I interpreted it wrong. According to the wording, I'll show you what I mean in a second. You arrive in Paris with $580. How many euros can you buy? I think the one I had earlier was Canadian dollars. So we're looking at dollars per foreign and then foreign per dollars. So what I found out going to the notes. So earlier I had 600 Montreal dollars and I wanted to convert it to the Canadian. So from what, I was pulling from the chart, initially I got it backwards, where the dollars that they're referring to is the dollars that you come in with, and then the foreign is the one that you're converting it to. So in this case, when I was going from Montreal to Canadian dollars, the foreign that they're referring to is the Canadian. So what I decided to use was dollars per foreign. So going back to the chart, and you can use either one of these categories as long as you use it correctly. So dollars per foreign is dollars over foreign, or foreigns per dollar is foreign over dollar. And so remember, that goes back to what I was saying about kilograms to pounds versus kilograms over pounds, pounds over kilograms. So you just have to make sure you know which one you're using. And you may have to play with it a little bit if you have your interpretation, backwards. So I did $0.7834 to my foreign, and my foreign in this case, or this example, was Canadian. So my $600 is what I have initially. So that means I would do 1 over 0.7834 so that my dollars can cancel. And then that will make me, put me in a position to divide 600 by 0.7834. And once you do that, you see that you have $765.89 of Canadian dollars. All right. Questions, make sure we're okay. So, like I said, going back to the chart, when you come into the chart, the money you have is considered the dollars, and then whichever one you change it to is the foreign. Questions, any questions? All right. So next system, the metric system. The metric system is what the world for the most part uses. The U.S. system, I guess we just want to make sure we have a system to ourselves. But the metric system is what majority of everyone uses. And here are our foundational prefixes kilo, hecto, deca. Then we have our bases, grams, meters, and liters. Talk about those in a second. Then we got deci, centi, and milli. So it can get way larger than kilo. Most of us have had experience with that. We talk about gigabytes, mega, we talk about your phone and all that stuff like that. Then it can get very small, get way smaller, a lot smaller than milli, the nano and pico, and so on. So the abbreviations for these basic ones, we have kilo, K, H, DA for deca, then GML, grams, meters, liters, then D for deci, C for centi, and M for milli. And then their value, 1,000, 110, 1 1/10, 1 100th, and 1 1,000. All right. So our bases, the bases that we'll use will depend on what we're actually trying to measure. So your grams, G is mass, meter, M is your length, then liter, L is your volume. All right. Also, so what would happen with those bases, you can put any prefix in front of that base, depending on, what you're measuring, what you figured out and everything like that. So it can be kilograms, kilometers, kiloliters, or milligrams, millimeters, milliliters. So either one of those prefixes can go in front of that measurement. All right, so the order matters. If you notice, you go back to the value, that these values are multiples of 10. So the order matters. And the way we can remember the order is by the fact that King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. So your B, represent your base, and depending on what you're measuring, that would change. But King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Kilo, hecto, deca, your bases, deci, centi, and milli. All right. All right. So if we want to convert 968.7 centimeters to kilometers, then we would, remember the order. Like I said, King Henry died by, my base is here, drinking chocolate milk. So I'll go to centimeters and I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left. All right. So I went 5 to the left from centimeters to kilometers in order to, in order to get from centimeters to kilometers. So I would take my decimal in my answer and move it 5 to the left. Oh. Start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Use placeholders if necessary, and that will give me 0.009687 kilometers. All right. Questions on that? Before we look at another one? All right, so if I have 123.86 decagrams, and I want to convert it to milligrams, I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. So I take that decimal 4 spaces to the right, use 2 zeros as placeholders, and I got 1,238,600 milligrams. Questions? All right. So I think that's actually in 3-2. All right, so find the scale ratio for the map described below. 1 decimeter on the map represents 10 kilometers on the ground. So we go back. Let's do this right here. So we said 1 decimeter, and we're gonna go to kilometers. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. So if we have 10 decimeters, we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're just gonna add 4 zeros to that ratio. Let me go back. Let me share it. Yeah, so we had 10 kilometers converted to decimeters by moving the decimal 2 places. Oh, not 2 places, 4 places to the right. So that means all you did was add 4 zeros to that ratio, to that 10. And they gave us 100,000. And that goes back to our relationship of our meters to each other. Questions on that? Centimeters to meters, same type of deal. Talking about going centimeters to meters, 1, 2. So we're just gonna add 2 zeros to that 500. All right. Questions. So that's 0.5, I think. Okay, yeah. So the next, there's only 6 problems in that section, and you're dealing with the metric. So try those problems out. Try to do all of your homework, of course, but see if you get stuck on any of them, or if you see something that you want to see done again, or whatever the case may be. But that's 3.1 and 3.2, dealing with conversion factors, whether it be US, your temperature, or your metric system. questions on anything I've said, anything somebody wants to see done again? Anything, anybody? So everybody straight. Questions on class happenings. Oh yeah. So probably gonna do the midterm on October 21st. Hopefully that gives everybody enough time to get it done or get ready for it. I'll create a review at some point. And that would be the day that everybody would, make sure your cameras are available. It'll only be on chapters 1 through 3. So your final will be on everything after that. Don't. All right. So, yeah. So your midterm will be on the 21st, chapters 1 through 3. That'll give us a chance to close out chapter 3 and give you the opportunity to ask whatever questions you want to ask. So it's like 3 weeks from now. Because this is week 5. So that'll probably be like week 9 instead of week 8, but that's fine. So just be on chapters 1 through 3. Now that's not going to stop us from progressing forward, of course. So we'll still keep talking about other sections. So we'll still continue to go into chapter 4 or whatever. But that will give you the opportunity, like I said, for me to post a review and for you guys to look at the review and ask whatever questions you want to ask about chapters 1 through 3. And then, like I said, on that day, everybody have to make sure that their cameras are available, and you show me your ID and all the good stuff like that. Questions, concerns, comments, anything, anybody? So everybody's good to go. All right. So if you guys are good, I am good. Going back to your final, I don't know how far, I said final term, final exam. I don't know how far we're going to get in the class, but I know we're going to start with chapter 4. And then whatever our last section or last chapter is, that's what the final exam will be on. So we'll just see how far we get. But and that date will be in final exam week, whatever week that would be for us, early part of December. I think it's second week of December. All right. So if you guys are good, I'm good. I will let you go. Make sure you're doing this homework. And if you have any questions, make sure you ask them on next class or shoot me an email. Constantly answering emails, constantly setting up Zoom sessions outside of class. So just let me know. Outside of that, have a great weekend, and you guys be safe. All right, let me stop this.